This webinar will focus on the dilemma that you encounter when trying to balance higher efficiency through continuous improvement with the bandwidth of management and the organization in general. As per usual, the webinar will have two sections. One where we talk about the challenges of continuous improvement, and one where we take a look at how that would work in Gluu. As you might know, we did an earlier webinar before summer about Gluu's improvement suggestion handling feature. But today we'll be mainly focused on the last part of the improvement flow, getting all those changes approved and implemented in your processes. And I brought my colleague Søren with me today, who also knows quite a lot about this topic. Do you want to introduce yourself just briefly, Søren, maybe?
Yeah, sure. Hi, I'm Søren, the founder of Gluu.
Great. I think we're about ready to get started. If you have any questions during the webinar, please just leave them in the comments, and we'll try to reply to all of them during the webinar. Sure.
Yeah. But so Louise, you have some first-hand experience in this area with your background as a manager in a factory. Would you mind sharing some of the knowledge you gained when working with continuous improvement in that setting?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I guess when we're talking about continuous improvement, which is something that is talked about a lot, it's something that everybody wants. Because we want to get more efficient, and because we want to reduce our costs by reducing waste and errors. Those are the main drivers for why we want continuous improvement, right? And of course, some are also required to focus specifically on continuous improvements because of different standards that they're certified by. The most well-known standards that require continuous improvements are probably the ISO standards 9001 and so on. As you can hear, I have a background in quality. But what often happens in my experience in a business setting is that we all want continuous improvement, but it can be pretty tricky to do. You don't know how to really approach it. So some businesses, they tackle that challenge by hiring external consultants. And they do that every so often, maybe every 2 years, or maybe more often, maybe less often. And then they go through all of the business processes, or maybe just a portion of them every time they come. And they give us improvement suggestions. And those improvement suggestions can be quite good. But the problem with using external consultants is often that, first of all, they're expensive. We all know that. But on top of that, the suggestions that they're making, they don't have any kind of ownership within the organization because they're made by externals. And they often require quite big changes because, you know, that's where the big savings are if you do the big changes. And then you end up not implementing most of what the external consultants suggested because you don't have the resources to implement it. So you have the cost to the consultants, but you never gain all of the value that their improvement suggestions could give you. And then there's the other option, which is employee-driven continuous improvement. And often it starts out with really good intentions of wanting to do that, but you end up in a situation where all you really did was tell all your employees that you want them to give their improvement suggestions, but you you don't know, you don't have the tools to really execute on it. So you put up one of those little suggestion boxes that they can put their suggestions in, but no one really looks at them or decides what are we going to reject, what are we going to implement, how are we going to implement it, and how do we get it approved. So that's my take from the real world perspectives on challenges I've encountered myself previously. But I know we've been doing some calculations here at Gluu to try and show the difference between the different approaches. Could you maybe share that with us? That would be interesting, I think, for to see.
Yeah, absolutely. So you're kind of highlighting, I guess, the difference between a sort of formalized top-down approach where you do it with physical workshops versus the employee-driven improvement approach. And what I've been trying to do with a few cases, or from a few cases, is to calculate the difference in terms of actual improvements realized. So just wanted to share some thoughts on that. So if we, of course, this example here, if we share the two methods against each other, or we compare them, then there is this approach, I would call it the analog and top-down way, where you can imagine a situation where you have 5 functions or offices. You hold 2 workshops every year. You have maybe 2 employees in average per workshop, and one of them actually lead to an improvement, because this can often take a little bit of effort. So you have a lower level of improvements realized from this method. So in such a case, because there are not that many people involved and because it doesn't happen that often, you may be realizing something like 10 improvements a year. And if you then compare this with this more digital bottom-up way, then you can do it process by process, where you really have each process becomes a pivot for improvement, where you may have a check every month where you have received different suggestions, ideas, and you may have 5 people involved, and maybe there's still 1 improvement per employee, but just because of the numbers are much bigger, the frequency is higher, the number of people involved are higher, and then everybody has a shorter time from when they see a need for improvement until it happens. Then you will see a higher realization of the improvements. And in such a multiplier effect here, we would see a massive increase in the number of improvements. Of course, you can put in your own numbers if you believe something else. The point is just that this is really a multiplier if we're able to achieve this big flow of employee-driven improvements into the right forum, if it can be driven into the process.
And I think a very important point to make here as well, Søren, is that the employees working in the processes, they are the actual experts. They have all the knowledge about where we should be improving and where our pain points and problems are. It's much more difficult for external consultants or for top management in a business to spot all those different areas for improvement.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we are working from the lean philosophy, and obviously that's a lot about improvement from where work happens and decentralized improvement, and that's what we're talking about here. But of course, the challenge we always have had is how do we manage scale? How do we manage the flow? And that's a little bit what we're talking about today. So let's assume we are going to get a lot of employee-driven improvement. This is also what we've been talking about in an earlier webinar with change suggestions, getting the flow in. But now today, and what we're talking about is really the what do you do with them? How do you make sure that the actual approvals actually happen so that all the suggestions will turn into something real? And then we have a little bit of another calculation, a combination. It's a case we tried to run as a benchmark. So if you look at two ways of approving process changes, one is the classic conventional one where you have SharePoint, you have Visio, and you have email. So there you would of course have to go someplace to find maybe a process chart and to work some documentation. You would open it in Word, you would edit it, you would find some visual drawing that you would update, edit that again, copy it into Word or into SharePoint, save it, upload it again, get the link, write an email to people, find out who should be informed about this. How do you do that? I mean, because processes cut across a lot of normal departments, so you don't necessarily have a distribution list for this. Then you may send out your email and you will have the dialogue about whether or not to do this by email. You will have to inform people, maybe have a meeting. But as you all know, can be a very long and very time-consuming process. So this means that even if we had all the flow of change suggestions from our colleagues, from employees coming in, our ability to turn them into reality, to approve them, would be the limiting factor. So what we will show you here with what we've done in Gluu is that we have done something that only requires 4 actions, and it will only take a few minutes of work, so that you can, just from the management of each improvement, you have a massive time saving compared to the classic reality out there. So that's really the difference. So I would like to go in and give a little bit of demo of this, but just to summarize a little bit from what we talked about last time. So if we go into the circle, the flow here, we start with somebody suggesting a change. Then we have people analyzing the change in the business, taking it through an approval flow. For, do we actually want to do this change? Yes or no? That's a bit of a dialogue that you don't want to have an email. You want to have it in the context of the process. And then when you approve it for implementation, that's when the demo I'll show you now will start. So sharing a little bit of a view in Gluu here. Just trying to turn this thing off here. Then we have here's a process. This is a fixed asset management process. It doesn't matter which process it is, and I'm in a work instruction right now. But in this process, we assume we've been working with it, and someone has made a comment to when they have been working with it, and this comment has gone into the feed, into a flow. So in here in this flow, this person Hans, he had this suggestion. Maybe the quality manager needs to own the first year's maintenance so that it's done in accordance with all requirements and so forth. And then, as you can see here, the quality manager, she's been reviewing it and she's been trying it out, and they have now that yes, we will do this small change. So obviously, this is a little bit of a dialogue across time and space, and sometimes it will take a long time, sometimes it will be fast, but it has been in review. So we'll assume now that this is accepted. So because she's actually the owner of the process, she can just immediately approve it for implementation. And then she gets a link to edit the process. So what she'll be doing is actually, obviously, implementing this process change. So let's say in this case, we are moving this activity to another role, from the technician to the quality manager. And then we're saying done. So then we will be prompted with what we call a change wizard. So this is a formal process change. Yes. Let's say maybe we had a Gemba walk or something like that in the warehouse, where we were looking at real cases for this. And what we're doing now also is we are referencing the suggestion that was made. so that it's all combined into the same revision history. And as you can see now, it changes status to being implemented. So this version we formalize, and now we have that step of actually requesting approval. So here are a few people that need to approve. And Louise, if you could help me with playing the role of Peter, then we'll just say that for now it's just Kate and Peter that have to approve this. So
yeah, sure.
Yeah, good. So what will happen now is that we'll send out a request that will go out by email to whoever needs to approve this. And then the next step is just to prepare that communication that go out once this new version of the process will go live. So in this case, we'll maybe the role members, one who has a role in the process, will make a text. I could be updating this text here now, but we'll just use the standard text. And what will happen now, as you can see here, is that once the process version goes live, this email will go out informing everyone about the change. So now Kate, because she's both the change implementer and the approver. That's just for the sake of this this demo here. It could be different people, obviously, but as you can see now, there is a pending approval, and she needs to review. So what she would be doing in here is she could go in and she could be seeing what has happened. So in this case, she could be taking a look at the old version and the new version, and she could be comparing the two and making sure that she feels comfortable about it. And if she doesn't, then she will reject it. It will go back into addition, and some more changes will be made before it will be submitted again for approval. But right now, she will just she knows it, so she will just approve it. So now Kate has approved this, and now they're just waiting for people to approve. We have what we're looking for. So we have this version 8 created, 2 approvals, and now we will just bring it live. So this last step is optional. We could also have done it automatically, but now the version is live for everybody to see, and we can be making changes and improvements with another. So that's the short demo of this. Obviously, we've been messing around a little bit with clicking in and out, but hope you got the point that there aren't that many steps where you can quickly get approvals done across time and space. So yeah, so I guess yeah.
Now I just want to say that that's something that's really good about this feature, because it offers a level of transparency also in handling improvement suggestions and getting them approved or rejected, for that matter, because obviously you also have the option of rejecting instead of approving if you do not agree with the changes. And it lets, of course, the process owner and the other process editors see whether you've approved or rejected, but it also lets regular process members see who's approved the current version they're looking at.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that's maybe that's it for now. Do we have any questions?
We have a question that we need to respond to. We've got a question about the option to have mandatory approvers on processes. And I would think it's coming from someone working with quality management, or maybe someone in a process excellence team. Because sometimes you will sometimes you'll have certain processes where you have formal approval and you need your quality department, or maybe one of your process excellence team members to always approve the format or to approve that you're actually staying within the framework of the different certifications that you adhere to, the different standards. And then it can be very useful to be able to have mandatory approvers. And you can, of course, do that in Gluu as well. So you can add that as an extra layer, in the sense that what Søren just showed us will still be what the process manager sees when he or she is asking for approval of a process version. But you, on an account level, you can choose to have all your a certain role, for instance, like like you just have on the screen now. So let me just I'll just jump off the screen, because then people can actually see.
Yeah, exactly. So what you can see here is you set up the versioning mode for your account. Do you want it disabled? Do you want it manual as a default? You can always change it. Or do you want it automatic? And do you need approval for everything? And then you can set certain roles that have to be asked for approval every time. So that was what Louise was referring to. So yeah, great.
And those approvers will then be added as a mandatory layer. The process owner won't be able to deselect those people, and they'll always be informed that new processes are awaiting approval.
Yeah, exactly. So Louise, what is left to say for today?
Well, I think that's it regarding this feature in Gluu on how to handle process versioning approval. I will drop a couple of links for you in the chat, so you can go learn more about it in our help center. We have pretty good articles that will help you if you would like to learn more about this feature. And you can, of course, find a recording of this webinar on our LinkedIn and our YouTube page if you didn't catch all of it today.
Yeah. So I guess what's left is just to wish everyone a very nice weekend, and thank you for your attention, and look forward to seeing you in the next webinar a few weeks from now.
Definitely.
See ya.
Bye, everyone.